Hello everyone, my name is Joe Palmer and welcome to this video on hybrid teaching methodologies. In this video we're going to look at different ways to share audio and video in Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, which will allow you to deliver more effectively when teaching both local and remote students at the same time. Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is a fantastic tool, however in my experience I find that it works best when you're delivering solely to remote students and nobody else is in the room with you. When you're trying to deliver content both to these local students and remote students, there is a lot to think about. Having some strategies to deal with this kind of situation can help you to teach much more effectively. It can also dramatically reduce your stress levels. For reference, I lecture on an engineering degree apprenticeship course run by the AMRC Training Centre, part of the University of Sheffield in the United Kingdom. This type of hybrid teaching is something that we do a lot of on the course, and these are some of the strategies that I've found to be incredibly effective. To get the most out of this video, I'm assuming that you already use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra and that you're comfortable with its basic functionality. If not, check out this video here and learn these basics before coming back. Hopefully by the end of this video you should be able to recall some of the key capabilities of Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. You should understand some of the key delivery formats and understand how your students will likely react to these in hybrid teaching sessions, and you should be able to create new and original teaching content suitable for hybrid delivery, making use of some of these formats. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, we're going to discuss some of the equipment that you will need to make these formats work. I've tried to keep this list to a minimum, but unfortunately there is quite a lot of hardware needed to truly get the most out of some of these teaching formats. You will need a laptop and charger, a video cable, an Ethernet cable, a projector, a webcam with a tripod, and a USB microphone. Let's discuss each of these items now. So for the laptop and charger, hopefully this is something that you already have and something you already use to deliver your teaching sessions. You are definitely going to need to use a charger because we're going to be working these laptops pretty hard during this setup. Obviously we're going to need a video cable to be able to connect to our projector. Whatever works for this purpose is absolutely fine. HDMI, DisplayPort, VGA, these are all perfectly acceptable. The next item is an Ethernet cable. I don't care how good the Wi-Fi is at your institution or workplace, I have yet to see wireless video streaming work flawlessly when there are also 50+ students in the room on their laptops and smartphones. Make sure that you bring an Ethernet cable and know where the network port is in the room in which you're teaching. The projector. Hopefully this is something that you are already using for your teaching and not an additional piece of equipment that you require. The next items are a webcam and a tripod upon which to mount that webcam. Now I appreciate most laptops these days come with built-in webcams, but please don't use them. The video quality of these webcams is often very poor, the angle is also fixed, quite unflattering, and pretty much useless for hybrid teaching formats. We'll discuss more about this camera angle later. The final item is a USB microphone. Again, most laptops these days come with microphones built in, but please don't use these for hybrid or remote teaching. These microphones are deliberately designed to only pick up noise from someone sat at the laptop itself, so as soon as you move away from the laptop, your remote students will not be able to hear anything. Ideally, use a good quality USB microphone which is capable of capturing sounds from all directions. Something like the Blue Microphone's Yeti is a perfect example. The reason that we are specifically choosing a USB microphone is that USB microphones are capable of drawing power from the USB port and providing external amplification. If you use a microphone which connects via a 3.5mm jack, there will be no external amplification and the overall volume levels might be very low. Obviously this is quite a lot of equipment, so if you're going to implement these formats on a regular basis, you will need to allow time at the start and at the end of your session to set the equipment up and break it down. I normally find that around 5 minutes at the start and the end of the session is perfectly sufficient. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume that you are delivering to local students from either a desk or lectern and that you have a projector screen either to the side of you or behind you above. You'll want to place the microphone on the desk or lectern that you're presenting from and as close to the centre of the teaching room as possible. Don't worry about having to stay too close to it if you're using a good quality USB microphone. These will pick up good quality audio from quite far away. Place the webcam on its tripod and position it so that it has a good view of both you and the projector screen behind you. Incidentally, you're going to also have to make sure that you've got a USB cable long enough for your webcam so you can get it into the correct position. Connect your laptop to the projector screen using the video cable and make sure that you set the projector mode to duplicate and not to extend. Once all of this is done, you are ready to start your Blackboard Collaborate Ultra session. When you first start the session, you'll be prompted to choose which webcam and microphone you wish to use for teaching purposes. we need to make sure that we select correctly here, otherwise all of the work done in the setup so far will be for nothing. Selecting the correct camera should be relatively easy, as it should show the view of yourself with the projector screen behind you. Selecting the microphone source can be a little trickier. Often laptops have many microphones and it's not immediately apparent which microphone is which. A good tip here is to look at the volume indicator underneath the microphone that you have selected. If you tap the USB microphone a couple of times with your finger, you should see the volume level increase rapidly to the very top. This indicates that you've got the right microphone selected. If you don't see this when you tap the microphone, choose a different microphone until you get the correct one. Once you've selected your video and audio sources, you will then be dropped into the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra session. Hopefully your remote students are already there and raring to go. To begin the session, ensure that you've clicked the buttons at the bottom of the screen to share your audio and video. At this stage, it's normally a good idea to ask the remote students if they can hear you and indicate in the Blackboard Collaborate chat window if they can. At this point, both your local and remote students should be able to see you at the front of the room. They should be able to see the projector screen behind you with any information that you've already placed there, and they should be able to hear you loud and clear. This is the best time to start your session in the normal way. You can make any announcements that you need to, perform any admin, and give the students a brief of what the current session will involve. Next, you're ready to pick your delivery format for whatever teaching activity you have planned for that session. In this video, we're going to discuss 4 main teaching formats, as I've found this covers the most amount of possible scenarios. These are lecture, open question, question sheet, and group task. Hopefully the lecture format is pretty self-explanatory. Here you are delivering new content to students, normally using a slide deck. In order to present in this format, you'll need to turn off webcam video sharing and enable screen sharing. At this point, you can start your PowerPoint presentation and set it into present mode. Because you are using the projector in duplicate and not extend, you will not be able to use the presenter view when giving your PowerPoint presentations. This means that you won't be able to see the next slide coming up, and you won't be able to see any notes that you've made. If this type of functionality is absolutely vital, then you can change your projector mode to extend, and then you can use the presenter view within Microsoft PowerPoint. I tend to avoid this, however, because managing 2 screens when they're not next to each other can prove very tricky. Getting the PowerPoint presentation and the presenter view on the correct screens can also be quite problematic. You may end up spending a large amount of time here solving these technical problems, and this can break the flow of the lesson, which is the reason why I try and avoid it. If you do need to use PowerPoint presenter view and you want to use this extend screen functionality, I would advise you to practice this outside of a lesson to ensure that you have the process perfectly dialed in before using it with your students. In this lecture format, both the local students and remote students can see your PowerPoint slides clearly, and they can hear you. While the remote students can't see you physically, it is likely that you'll be doing a lot of talking during this lecture. This indicates to them that you're at the front of the room and you're speaking into the microphone. Ensuring that remote students understand where you are in the room at all times and where your attention is focused is absolutely key to retaining their engagement. We'll talk a little bit more about this later on. While presenting in this format, it is my preference to ask students to hold questions until the end. This is because when you're making this presentation, you will have no visibility of the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra chat panel, which means that you will not be able to field questions from remote students. Obviously, once the lecture has concluded, you can look at the chat panel and you can answer questions from both local and remote students at the same time. In the open question format, you are posing a single question to the entire cohort. This can be part of a break in a lecture or as its own standalone lesson segment. For this format, ensure that you disable screen sharing, that you enable video sharing from the webcam, and you enable audio sharing as well. You will need to make sure that you have a pre-prepared PowerPoint slide which poses the question that you are setting to the students, and that uses a very large font and is displayed on the projector screen behind you. In this format, both the local and the remote students have a clear view of the task that they need to complete. They can hear any audio from within the room, and most crucially for the remote students, they can see whether you, as the teacher, are at the front of the class and able to field questions, or whether you're elsewhere. Without this kind of webcam view, it is unclear to the remote students where you are and what you are doing. This can lead to them asking questions which go unanswered and can ultimately reduce their amount of engagement in the session. Now, remember when I spoke earlier about the built-in webcam on laptops being unsuitable for hybrid teaching? Let's have a think now about what that view would look like. Obviously, when you were in front of the laptop, you would have a clear picture of your face and your shoulders, but when you were away from the laptop, the image would simply be the blank wall behind you. Getting your laptop webcam into a position where it can see you the projector screen behind you and you can still use a screen effectively is something which I've found impossible, which is why I recommend the use of an external webcam on a tripod. By turning off screen sharing, you are forcing the remote students to use the webcam view, and therefore you can be sure that they're aware of your activities and movements within the room. In an open question scenario, you will likely want to move through the room and use questioning to promote debate. If you are doing this, simply treat remote students as though they are their own group or table. Come to them at the end once you've toured the room and ask your questions. If remote students themselves have questions, they will likely type these into the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra chat window. Read these questions and answer them verbally using the microphone. This is much quicker than typing yourself and can save teaching time during the session. When answering questions verbally in this way, be sure to address remote students via their name so it's clear that you're answering their particular question. In this format, you should also leave the microphone on at all times. In this way, it will pick up the background noise from inside the teaching room, and remote students will be able to overhear discussions from other groups or tables. For the question sheet format, there may be times when you wish to pose a series of questions to students, monitor their progress, and then coach them through certain answers. For this, you will need to make sure that this question sheet is available to both local and remote students, either as a printout or preferably as a downloadable PDF. You should set the task verbally and direct students to this question sheet resource. You can use the same presentation format here as the open question format, i.e. by sharing your webcam and audio only and not sharing your screen. The difference this time is that on your screen, and therefore your projector screen, you should display the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra chat window. What this will allow you to do is to tour the room and speak to local students, and also check back periodically with the chat window and see if the remote students have any questions themselves. Again, you can simply treat remote students as their own table or group, periodically returning to the front of the room and checking that they are progressing well with their question sheets. We've touched on this a little bit already, but answering questions in this way is key to making sure that the session is interactive and not an instructional video. Remote students are already physically separated from the room, so we need to make as much effort as possible to integrate them with all aspects of the lesson. Finally, for the group task format, you are setting a particular task or challenge, and you are asking student groups to complete this independently. For this particular format, you have a key decision to make. You need to decide whether students will be a mix of local and remote students or not. Your decision here will depend entirely on the type of challenge being set, your cohort, and student numbers. If you mix local and remote students, you'll need to make sure that all students have a device upon which they can access Blackboard Collaborate Ultra and specifically the chat window. It is advisable to coach all groups and make sure that everybody is contributing to the group challenge, and don't be afraid to ask local students to see the chat window to make sure that remote students are contributing properly. If you have a large number of student groups, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra has a great feature called breakout groups. This will allow students to form their own small chat windows and discuss amongst their teams. If student teams are to be formed from remote students only, then regularly check in with them using the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra chat window in a similar way that you would for the open question format. A similar format to the question sheet format is being used here. We are sharing our webcam and audio only, and we are displaying the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra chat window on the projector at the front of the classroom. Depending on the complexity of the group task that you have set, you may need to ask remote students to periodically share their video so that you can see how they're getting on. When using this format, it is key to keep a mental note of how much time you are spending with each group. You need to try and ensure that you split your time evenly between all groups, whether they're local, remote students, or a mix of both. So these are all of the formats that I use when hybrid teaching. Give them a go and seek some feedback from your students. If you found something particularly useful, or if you've got an idea for another type of format, please let me know in the comments below. As always, likes and subscribes are very much appreciated, but by no means expected. Finally, for those of you that are still here, I have one more bonus format to talk about. The lecture delivery format is also actually very good for doing software demonstrations. In my teaching, I use a lot of computer-aided design software. By sharing my computer screen only and my audio, I can demonstrate to both local and remote students at the same time how to perform specific things using this computer-aided design software. Try giving this a go with your software demos. Thank you very much everyone, I hope you found this video useful. My name is Joe Palmer and I will see you in the next video.